before LifeWave, I was talking to Gary earlier today and letting him know that all through my childhood, I actually had trouble with cognition and comprehension and just feeling like I wasn't very smart because I couldn't rein myself in enough to actually comprehend what I was reading in school. I'd have to read things 3 and 4 times. I don't know if anybody can, relate to that, but it was awful. I actually thought I was kind of dumb. And my mom had a genius level IQ, but I just didn't feel very smart. And so to my, which, and something that happened because of that was really disappointing to me is I never really read books. I never wanted to read books. It was just frustrating, and I would end up not being, really interested because it took too long. Right. I got better things to do. So anyway, and I also know that readers are leaders. And so, I'd see other people reading books, and I always wanted to do that. So that was prior to LifeWave. Another thing prior to LifeWave is my family background. So my grandmother had a stroke when I was in 4th grade. My mom was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and my aunt had been having some cognitive issues prior to LifeWave. And so that's a little bit of kind of and my husband was having some back pain. And I actually, before LifeWave, had a scan, like a body scan where they go in, it's like a 3D scan. And they actually had found some plaque buildup in my arteries. And they said, there's really you can't reverse it. So you need to keep an eye on it and make sure that it's not getting worse. So that's kind of my life prior to LifeWave.
Wow. So did Gary introduce you to the patches?
No.
All right, tell us who did.
Okay. So my aunt, remember I mentioned my aunt had some cognitive issues. And so I was on the phone with my uncle one day and I was asking him how she was. And he said, well, she's improving. And I said, and these were significant cognitive issues. He said, well, she's improving. And I'm like, wait, what? Improving? What are you talking about? What are you doing? Tell me everything. And he told me, he said, well, I'm putting these little patches on her that are about the size of a quarter size of a Band-Aid. And I'm like, what? So anyway, I said, I want to know more. He got me on the phone with Christy Donay, who is actually one above me, but helps me with everything. And so I started doing the research. So I started looking at the clinical studies and the patents. And I watched a couple of videos of David Schmidt, the founder, because that's a big deal to me. It was a big deal to me that the company had been around for so long. They had integrity, because to me, if a company is around that long, that speaks volumes to me. And so anyway, I saw all of those things and I'm like, that's enough for me. I'm in, sign me up. We bought a platinum package. I tell people, like, just peel off the back and slap it on. And so that's what I did. And here we are, fast forward a year later. I am now reading 5 books, one of them being my Bible, which I read every day. But I'm reading one of the books that Dr. Stacy recommended. I'm reading a book that one of my good friends authored called The Business System That Never Fails. I had tried to read that book 3 or 4 times, and it never held my interest because I just couldn't comprehend what I was reading. Well, I now can't get enough. And so anyway, that my cognitive abilities probably started changing, I would say, around 3 months. I recently had an updated scan that showed 0 plaque buildup. So I don't know when that happened, because that original scan was several years later, and this one was just a few months ago. My husband had some back issues because he here. So this Gary, I found out what you asked me today. So he went in for, we actually paid $5,000 for a stem cell injection for my husband's hip to try to avoid a hip replacement. And in our minds, it didn't work. Nothing changed. And so he ended up having the hip replacement, but he suffered with the pain so long it caused him to limp, which threw his back out. But his back pain, or his hit, I used to call it his hitch and his get along because his back would catch. And he hasn't had that since we've started the patches. And so, so yeah, that's a little bit of our story.